So this looks horrible, but this is actually at the back of the car. This is the rear of the leaf spring. It isn't too critically as important. Like, this wouldn't be a critical aspect for any structure, except maybe keeping this rail and the other one apart, but there's plenty of good metal up here. But I'll roll up front in a second, just kind of show you the setup, and then we'll get to the rust up front real quick. So this rust right here, this is the passenger rocker panel you guys have already seen. This is actually a good demonstration of the car's strength, of what it is. So first we'll come out here and you see this lip. This is like a pinch weld, a seam. And you can see that indent is where a machine had welded two pieces together to spot weld them like that. And unibody cars get a lot of their strength from these. They're called rocker panels. They're pillar, like a pillar, basically, like a frame rail. This is the frame rail of the car, basically. And you can see in here, that's basically what's left, because all on the inside and everything's rotted out. So that one piece of metal that's just straight up and down, and if you ever bend a straight piece of metal, you can bend it pretty easily like that. But then if you try to bend a tube that's round, it doesn't want to. And so here you have another, what you could call like a frame rail. It's just a support. Welds to the front section here, and it comes down, but it's welded to the floor pans, which is fine, but then they start to just, like, they're just deteriorated. And these have holes in them. The other one is on the other side, I'll show you. But this doesn't connect to anything really, so we're going to trying to crawl under here and show you everything. See, it comes back to the floor, all the way on the floor pan, which is actually really good. But here is your main support. So what we're going to do is weld a piece of rectangle tube from here, and because this angles, we're going to bring it in and tie it up here to this, just to give the car extra strength. And then we're gonna cut all this out. And then after we add that, we're gonna pull the engine transmission. So yeah, I'm upside down right now, so it's really hard to film. I'm gonna have to clean all this. But see, even all the way back here, I thought I could save the rear pans. Where am I at? So after I cut the floor pans out of the car, I've kind of been on the fence back and forth about doing the subframe connectors with this, because it actually has I thought they were short when I called under it first. It actually has the longest subframe connectors I've ever seen. Usually they end like at the driver's feet or so. These ones go all the way to the back, but they're not tied into the actual structure at the back. They only run along, attaching to the floor pans, and the driver's side has some rust. So I decided we're just going to do it. My local metal supplier is closing their doors in October, so it's going to be much harder for me to get raw material like this. I think I'm going to have to drive. So I was like, do I want to waste this on this project or keep it? But you know, this is only $25 worth of steel. It's $5 a foot. So we're just gonna do it right the first time. Cut these, weld them in, and then I'm gonna add a crossbar too. So I'm cutting this at 3 feet. So just mark. We're gonna do 3 foot because the beginning of the subframe connector is incredibly heavy duty. It's amazing. It's great actually, and it's structurally there, but then it actually tapers down to that thin section, which is okay for floor support, but for adding strength and stability to the car, we would just like to see a little more. Not that this engine is crazy powerful, but it'll, you know, we're putting a 4L60E behind it, So that leaves opportunity for the future of doing a Chevy V8 or even a 4.3 V6, which can make great power. I know it's a V6, but I mean, you could put a turbo on a 4.3 V6 and we could be making an easy 350 horsepower in this little car. So we're gonna cut these and then transfer them to the car, measure, cut, grind, you know the deal. So let's chop this. Man, it's so much hotter in this car than just outside of it. Okay, that's hot yet. So this is going to go down in here in this channel, and you can see how it tapers. What I'm going to do is cut just this side off here so that we're left with a kind of an L just here. It's kind of difficult to explain, and I'm in a really awkward spot. What can I do here? Lift leg. Okay. So, and then I'm going to slide it in from the bottom, so it's built into this channel here, and then drill holes. I'm going to drill holes in this so that we can plug weld. So it's hard to explain. I'll show you guys later, but then I'm going to cut this, notch this hump right here where it kicks out. I'm going to notch it and then cut another one of these pieces of tubing or rectangle stock and weld it going across so it ties into this, because this was the floor. Dude, it's so hot, it's hard to even keep track of my words. This was the mount for your seat, but it's also a support. It tied into the floors and this subframe connector, as well as the rocker and the transmission tunnel. So, but it's gone. So what we're going to do is when we weld this, we're going to weld another one all to the side of here and weld it to this, because this still is attached and it's our mount. Come across and then just melt it to this subframe connector, so it'll be much more rigid and secure. So we're going to get to cutting and just start chopping stuff up, and I'm going to vacuum this rail so it doesn't fall on me while I'm under there. I just drilled 3 holes to weld from the bottom. You can see we got some rust on that side and also right there. And then I marked with a Sharpie marker how far it goes. So I'm about to grind on that Sharpie marker so we'll have clean metal to weld to on the inside. And then it'll sit in what's left of this channel, and then it pokes through there. And we'll get it welded and then a good view. I've got it tack welded in place here, just every few spots. Just tack welded. That one looks like crap, but when you come back here, you know, we've got this gap. So I have a couple of these pieces from the intake manifold left over. We're gonna cut and just stack these 1/4 inch thick plates and weld them all together. I'm just gonna close that gap, and then right next to that is the leaf spring perch, and this is all thicker stuff, but I say thicker, but it's still, that's like an 1/8 inch thick. I can't get it to focus, but we'll just add this, strengthen it up. So we're gonna go cut that. So we got it tack welded in, just tack welded to the rocker panel there, and then it's actually pretty heavily welded to this beam. Let's see if I can get you up here. Right there. And then tack welded to the seat bracket. And that centerpiece was a huge, it dented out, so we had to cut that out, so we'll brace that again. Well, I'll come down here. The plan is to later weld it to the floorboards and incorporate it to the floorboards and the transmission tunnel, but the main reason why I've got it going all the way out is we're going to incorporate a drive shaft loop. That's what the name is. A drive shaft loop in between the two of them. When that one's there, it'll just bolt into the bottom of it, so if it ever explodes, let's see if I can lift it with one hand. If it ever explodes, it won't fall down, hit the ground like that, and then dig into the ground and pole vault the car. It'll just break and then sit and just beat the tunnel up. Blam, 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 blam. And the car will suffer damage, but no one will die, hopefully. I got the front pan removed. It's laying somewhere down there. That's part of it. But we got that removed. And then I actually cut this and welded this in. And just looking at it, I think if I were to do it again for aesthetics, I would just cut this whole rail off instead of notching it and welding it up against it. Because if you look, in some spots it sits higher, like right here, and then some spots lower. So what I was thinking is just cutting it all off and mounting the floorboard directly to this, which in some spots it'll give you a little more room anyway, like a 1/4 inch. So if I were to do it again, I would just come out of this big one and then directly into this and only leave that. But I've already welded, like this one over here, I've tied in a lot of spots, and underneath it's welded. But I got this side notched. So it's notched right there. We ground a bunch of the metal where it's going to weld. So this is going to go under here. And that up. And then I'm going to make sure that they're legit, like they're true to each other. And then weld it in. And that will be the location for our drive shaft loop. So that's really good because not only will that provide a safety feature, and it's open obviously because there's two spots, so the drive shaft loop will build and it'll bolt up from the bottom. so that you can unbolt it and then remove the drive shaft easily. But it also adds into strength, tying into the rocker panels and everything. And this one here, I mean, you can't see much, but this rocker panel's gone. So on this side of the car, it really is the roof. So this pillar here, and then the roof is holding the entire car together. So that's pretty dangerous, and I'm sitting on it right now. I'm sitting on the back of the tunnel, adding weight. But hopefully these are holding it together enough right now. But I'm gonna weld this one in and get it set where we want it. And then we're gonna come back, clean up, and look at getting sheet metal. I still have to go buy sheet metal. So we're just gonna assess it again after I weld and clean. So they're pretty well, they're not fully welded, but they've got a decent amount of welds on them, and so do these rails. But I'll step out of the car so we can get a little better look. So there's the beginning of our floors and our subframe connectors. We still got a little bracing to do on that one since we had to cut that large chunk out just for that. It's the original floor support. It went in and welded to the floors, the rocker, and the transmission tunnel / drive shaft tunnel. So it was a good structural piece, and it also doubled as the seat bracket. So we just got to strengthen that back up. But there it is. I now feel better about the car, and we can get back to the engine work. And I'll feel like we're not about to break this thing in half. The floor pans, I was really hoping to get a 2 foot wide by at least a 3 foot long section, but they only had 24 inch by 24 inch, so 2 feet, 2 feet. So we'll have enough for the one side, but we're gonna be 2 inches short, or wait, 4 inches, because I needed 28. I'll bring this in the car and show you a little more of it. I didn't even notice that dent in the store. That's fine. So you can see it's a couple inches short here, and I got this from Lowe's. I didn't even check the local hardware store that's closing here in Crestview. I haven't seen sheet metal there before, but I guess every time I went there I was just getting kind of bigger pieces like this. But we're gonna bend this since I already got it and work with it, because I can just weld another piece in here and stitch weld it and then seam seal it, and you'll never know. I'll grind it on the bottom even, so it looks like one piece. But we're gonna put a 90-degree bend on this here, a little lip, so we just like the original, so that it can weld to the side here. We're going to drill holes in the middle so that it can weld directly down onto that. And then I've got my bead roller. We're gonna put like 2 beads down this way and then 2 beads down that way. I think that direction would be good. I don't know if going this direction would be stronger or what, but for me right now, doing 2 long ones would be simpler than lots of other ones like that. So I think the first step is to bend this and just kind of get our shape of what we want. We're about to sink the floor pans from this bottom lip where it welds, it drops roughly an inch, inch and a half or so. So I already cut this bend here so that it won't fight us, and we're just gonna put a, kind of make a Z. You kind of picture a Z. So I need to buy a metal brake, and I don't have one. So we have to do this somehow. I have this big thing here that I can hit, but it just doesn't do as good as a job as a metal brake would, because a metal brake would give us precision and kind of more speed. This bench just stuff away. Kind of just trying to line my marks up. Oh jeez. Okay, there's one. I'm just gonna tap it, I guess. I got the fans off so you guys can hear me talk and not have obnoxious fans, but it just gets too hot afterwards after a while. Lost my mind, dude. Something like that is what I'm thinking. Maybe, I don't know. Dude, I think I went the wrong way. I did. The second one would needed to go this direction. Well, that stinks. It's okay. Problem is, once you start bending metal in the same spot many times, it gets weak. But I think we'll be okay. Somewhat. Okay, now what? How else can I do this? Where else can I clamp this or something? This is 24 gauge or 22 gauge. Not real thick, but it's not like paper thin. But it looks like crap what I'm doing. I like it to have a nice sharp line. Well, we're in the ballpark. So now we need this next one. We got this piece of steel here that we can clamp. Okay. That's really easy. Then what? Hit this side with a hammer. I hope. You know, it looks completely different. these numbers. Then a little tap it. Tap it. Mint. So here's the beginnings of the floor. I still gotta figure something out with this. To see what I'm talking about, how it's too short, that's like 4 inches. Well, probably a little more now that I put that bend in it back there. But, so we got it to drop a little bit, and we'll finesse it, we'll beat it, make it look good. But I'm gonna crawl underneath the car and use a Sharpie marker to mark where I want those beads. But you can just see what we're working with. The lip, that thing we just beat onto it. And then here, this will get some holes drilled in it here to weld. That's exactly how they did it from the factory. I crawled under, made the marks, and then I put the stop point 2 inches in, and then this one is 18 inches from the front. So in total, we're doing 16 inches of bead rolling and 2 lines. This is the center, subframe connector, and then 2 more lines. So we're gonna bead roll this real quick and then install it. We've got 60 seconds of storage on the phone left before I have to do stuff to it. Free up space. And I can't get this to work. Get in there. Can't get roll the bead on that side. Oh my. Well, it won't go in, so this one's getting rolled. Not exactly on my mark. I'm tight, I've got wrenches. I hope this fits. It does not. Does this fit? I only have metric wrenches. Okay, that looks pretty decent. See if we're still even on. All right, here we go. Try to keep this straight as possible. Oh, the wrong way. My bad. That's enough. It's definitely not easy. Maybe I should loosen it up. I cut it. Cut right through it. Yeah, I cut way too hard. Well, that's actually pretty accurate of something I did. I ruined it. So I actually created damage to it, and I warped it. You live and learn. Get out of there. I remember this being easy. There we go. I'm just what you call a dummy. I've only used this one other time, so this is me learning. Okay, not that much pressure like we did last time. Okay. That looks kind of like too little pressure. Still looks like too little. Jeez. Okay, that looks pretty decent. Now we're just gonna feed it back through itself. Sweet. Man, it's turning out pretty decent. So there's this song that's stuck in my head that my daughter listens to on YouTube. It's like, "This Is My Happy" song. And that's basically all the words there is, except it goes, "Happy, happy, 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 happy." And that's playing over and over in my head. This is my happy song. And I just picture bouncing. Lots of bouncing. Come on. This rust, where my sweat lands, it is like instantly rusting it. Oh my word, why would I do that one? I meant to do this one. Ah! What do we do in here, Jim? Now we can't control the control thing. Oh my word. This is heavier than it looks. So with the Datsun, that sheet metal I got from Lowe's was the thickest they had, unless I went to, it was like 11 gauge, which is just too thick for the floor pans. That's like almost plate steel, but so the thickest they had that was sheet metal was 22 gauge, which is just way too thin. Typical floor pans you want are about 20 to 18 gauge, and putting this in the car, even with the bead roll, I realized it'll give the car no structural integrity in like helping it at all. It's just so thin, and for floorboards that's just so thin. But we already had messed with the one, so we're gonna leave that one in there, and I returned the other piece, and we're just gonna order new metal and for the floors. But the biggest thing that we wanted was to fix that subframe connectors and get some rigidity back in the car, and we did accomplish that. So that being said, we're gonna wrap up this video for the Datsun for the floor pans, and we're gonna get back into the engine. I did not want to even touch the car until I had the engine and transmission running, but as you guys saw when we cleaned it, we found that it was like breaking in half, and I was just too worried with moving the car around, and then when we test fit the engine, the stress and the weight. So we got this fixed, and now we're gonna roll right back into the engine right here with the dog. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned because we're back into the engine, the good stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye.